move on to Josh, and he is going to be presenting on local governments, right, and what they can do with ADUs.
Hi, I'm Josh Abrams, and I'm going to talk about basically the last year of my life, the products I've been working on, and how hopefully they'll result in more accessory dwelling unit construction in San Mateo County. We are calling them second units, the old-fashioned name for ADUs there in all our material. I'll start just by introducing the two organizations. So 21 Elements is a collaboration of all the cities in San Mateo County. We help them work together on housing policy. It's mostly at a staff level and a technical level. We'll do things like write staff reports for council or do presentations for them to copy and use as they want. And we're real clear not to be advocates. So you'll often hear me say something like, ADUs are a great option if they work well in your city, or something like that to avoid pressuring cities. And then our sister organization, Home for All, that's a broader organization. We work really closely with them, and we work closely to produce this material. They have more decision makers and more external people like employers that are involved in the mix. So they'll talk a little about why in San Mateo County we were interested in accessory dwelling units as a strategy. The first thing to understand is that most of the land in San Mateo County is protected either as farmland or as open space. And of the land that's available for housing, 2/3 of the homes are single-family lots. And single-family lots are ideal for ADUs, and there's actually not that many strategies to get more housing in single-family neighborhoods. So if you're looking at it for an equation of what do you need to promote accessory dwelling units, mostly single-family homes. San Francisco's experimenting with other things, but generally single-family homes. You want larger lots. San Mateo County, a lot of the lots are larger. They were built in the 50s and the 60s. You want homeowners to have equity, and you want there to be personal interest. Oftentimes, because the process is difficult, there's some personal reason. Sometimes it's the rent, but often it's a family member that is going to live there. So that combined will be the second unit potential. I'll talk, and I should say generally, I think ADUs are a really great solution. I like them because they're flexible. Sometimes they'll be rented out. Sometimes they'll be used by the household. Sometimes they'll be used as a home office. They're inherently energy efficient. I think there's just a lot of qualities that work really well. So I'll talk a little about our work. We really wanted to start at square one. We wanted to do research to figure out how to tailor our products. So I'll talk briefly about our key findings and some of the products we came up with. We did a literature review. We also did surveys of homeowners, potential people who wanted to build ADUs, people who recently built ADUs, architects, designers, builders. Kevin he actually offered a lot of really helpful feedback. His material is sprinkled throughout our book. What we found was there's a whole bunch of barriers, and actually Cole's website has a real nice article, accessorydwellingunits.org, on the different barriers if you want more information. But they're all different levels, from the management and taxes, how will it affect the valuation, to just like the construction process and the approval process. In order to get homeowners to build more ADUs, you have to address a whole bunch of different barriers. And it's complicated because it's not even just a single decision. It's like this multifaceted decision. How will it affect, what will it cost? What will it rent for? How will it affect my quality of life, my privacy? How much capital do I have? Like, do I want to downsize? There's all these really serious things. So there's inevitably going to be lots of people thinking about building ADUs, but there's all these reasons that they'll be really slow to move forward. So some of the products I'll go through them that we produced: online second unit center, online calculator, inspiration book that tells the stories, and how-to workbook that hopefully Gina will start highlighting as one of the exemplary examples. I'm going to switch the PowerPoint for a second. I'll switch microphones also. So I'll show the second unit center for San Mateo County. Let's find it. We wanted to have a one-stop shop where people could go for more information. So that's our second unit center. We also collected in the process, we collected a lot of videos, just stories of people. So we have them highlighted why they built their ADU and what they learned, how it affected them. We have information about why people might want to, like an emotional side. So these are the stories of different people. And then we also have information just on the specifics of how to get it done. And we have under the permitting, we have the standards in each city. And then you can go, this is kind of a very short one, and then you can go and you can get a full page, real detailed summary of all the standards. One of the products that they really, really love that's really useful, you can get a real rough estimate of what it might cost to build your ADU and what it might rent for. There's a disclaimer that I already clicked through that said, you know, that isn't really going to predict what it costs because every lot is different, but you can, someone name a city in San Mateo County. Redwood City. You can do that. It'll adjust for and we're actually going to pretty soon for Sonoma County improve the user interface a little bit, but it'll estimate what the taxes will be and what the fees will be. Often, there was a question about that. Often fees are a relatively small percentage of the total construction costs, especially now that water fees have been reduced or waived, though there are sometimes an emotional one. So you can go through what type of construction you want, the size, you put in all the different information. If you put in something that's too large, it'll give you an error message. You can't build one that large in Redwood City. And you can get some sense of what it might rent for and what it might cost. So that's, again, it's at least what we found is homeowners were often paralyzed, and this is kind of just by not knowing anything. And this is to give them enough information that they feel comfortable talking to a professional. The best thing for them to do is to call up an architect or a design build firm. But a lot of times they didn't even know the words, they didn't know anything. So we were aiming to give them enough information that they could get started. The calculator. The idea book, we advertised to try and find anyone who had built an ADU, and we just went around and we took pictures of their home and interviewed them and got their stories, and also had a videographer go with us to collect video of their stories. So now for a half dozen different ADUs in the county, we have why they built it, what they use it for. We have how much it costs, what the building footprint is. And this is kind of on the emotional side. How do you get people just a little more comfortable with the concept? How do you build support among decision makers? So that's one of the two products we did. Here's an example for. And then the other one is this workbook. So again, the real answer is for homeowners to talk with a building professional. The very most difficult, worst decision you can make would be building it yourself. But we're just finding, or building or permitting it yourself. We found that people didn't want to call a builder or call an architect or even talk to the city until they knew the vocabulary and knew what to do. So that this workbook is our attempt to meet that need. We tried to make it as user-friendly as possible, and interactive little exercises. Write down your goal, like what will your ADU let you do? Cut that out and put it on your fridge, so as you're going through the process, you remember what's the point here. Questions to ask a designer or an architect as you're interviewing one, trying to select one. Questions to ask your city when you meet with them. So we tried to lay it out as really as simple, as non-technically as possible for the homeowner. And so we have these available for free at plan encounters at the library. The books cost us about $4 or $5 to print, but if you think about the cost of building an affordable housing unit, and second units tend to at least be moderately priced. The $20,000 we spent to print these to blanket the county, it's well under the cost of, if we get one new moderate income unit from this, it was a worthwhile investment. Another thing that we do that's really helpful for the cities, but also for the homeowners, is we compare the information in different cities. What are the standards? This is kind of a summary sheet that has them all, but we also have each individual city. The decision makers really love this type of information. 21 Elements does it a lot with ADUs or other topics. You can see what your neighbors are doing, and you can just adjust. You feel more comfortable adjusting your standards if you know what your neighbors are doing. Next steps, we have lots of ideas. We've been working with a volunteer team from Adobe, the software company, that's helped us craft a marketing plan. So we're going to be implementing that. We want to look at what we're calling friction reduction. So when homeowners or designers come in to get permits approved, where do things go wrong? Why is it so? It's difficult for the homeowner. It's often difficult for the city to try and find ways to reduce that friction. We're working on an unpermitted ADU amnesty program in the unincorporated county. That's a whole separate conversation about how to do that. And Hart Armando is in the back if you have more questions, but they recently got a grant from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. They're still signing the official paperwork, but they're going to be coming up with some designs for highly efficient ADUs and then going to different cities and maybe not getting them fully approved, at least getting them as close to inspected as you can so each homeowner doesn't need to go through that process individually, hopefully cutting down time and money. So.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Josh?
Josh, how are you keeping current with all the city zoning standards? I know those are changing all the time, and they're probably, with another round of legislation, another 2 rounds of changes. But yeah, how are you keeping up with that?
Yeah, this is an issue, just the ongoing cost of that. We have good relationships with all the cities, so we know all the staff people, so they'll tell us or we can ask them at a 21 Elements meeting if there's been any updates. But it is fairly time consuming. I don't know if you noticed on that summary we had draft, and we're just going to keep draft on there always because we know it's always going to change. We just have to. We have it all dated. We remind people to check with the city if it's been updated, and we just have to. If you're going to have it, you have to be committed to hopefully updating it at least once a year.
Hi, Josh. Lonnie Gray from the East Bay ADU Task Force. We're all in this room kind of pulling in the right direction. I'm curious if you're finding that homeowners are reticent or staying on the fence because they're concerned still about the NIMBY, about the concern about parking from their neighbors or feedback. Even though they have the by right law in their favor, they still live in that neighborhood and deal with that. Do you find that there's still pushback?
For sure, but I think that's lower on the list of reasons people don't do it. I mean, when we talk to people, it really starts with like, it's going to be so expensive, it's going to be so time consuming. Those things are much higher on their list, and they haven't really thought too much about. Some people have thought about their neighbors and talking with their neighbors, but it's not, I would say that's like a second or third tier concern for most people.
I just a question from the webinar from Christine Condon. How can one find out about the Hart ADU plan?
Armando, I mean, they haven't even signed the contract yet with the funders, so it's a little bit ahead. But Armando, do you want to say a word about how you get it out?
Yeah, we are extremely early in the process. We're forming a steering committee now that will start incorporating some of Josh's work and doing some more of our own research, then going through the whole process. So it's a ways off. Our goal, though, is it will be on our website. We will incorporate it into everything Josh has done, so it's going to be widely available in San Mateo County, but it will have applicability beyond our county. So, check 6 months from now, either through the 21 Elements, Home for All, or Hearts website, and we'll keep posting information on updates.
Yeah, on your calculator, so I'm a homeowner. Actually, I've been speaking with Rolf and Lonnie about a possible ADU project. Does your calculator, in the full-in cost, does it assume inclusion of site work and actually running the utility lines, or is it purely the construction itself? Because if it doesn't include it, I recommend you do, so that folks don't end up with a much bigger price tag than they were expecting.
Right. So we asked a bunch of builders what they thought things would cost, and we used the average. So if you have, we actually do have a tag. If you think there's going to be additional site work, extra site work, you can flip it and it'll increase your costs. For utilities, I mean, we didn't ask builders the breakdown. We said, like, how much will it cost per square foot for this type of construction? Now, what if they want a really nice interior? What if they tried to save money on the interior? So we have those. I mean, I assume probably whatever's typical, probably most of the time there's going to be some utility work. So whatever's typical, but every site's going to be different. We have it at $400 a square foot for a little while, and then if it gets a larger ADU, it drops to $375. It's about almost a year old. Construction costs might have gone up since then. Also, some of the other construction types, like if you're converting part of your house, it's a different calculation. It'll ask you if you're splitting out the electrical and things like that. But for the new construction, we didn't get to that level of detail.
Following up on that one, and I'm guessing the answer might be no, but I was curious, did you break out different costs for stick-built versus modular, or different types in that way?
Yeah, we interviewed a lot of builders, and basically the answer we got was often there's not much difference in the cost. I think we did like a 10% reduction for modular, or some small reduction for modular. There's some people that are doing modular a little more cheaply, but oftentimes modular, it just ends up, once you do all the on-site work, it just ends up not being that much cheaper. So there is, and we have it in the back end. We can adjust it more if those construction patterns change over time.
I was wondering, is there any sources or anything in the pipes for credits or less impact fees for these ADUs coming soon?
So the state law reduced some of the impact fees for water and sewer, and each individual city will make their own policies. Some cities like San Mateo City reduced their fees in half to encourage ADUs. Cities, I mean, their permitting is on a cost recovery basis, so they need to pay their own costs, generally the building department. So they would generally be subsidizing potentially out of the general fund to do it, which is a fine policy decision. But it would be an individual city by city decision. But I think in the end, I think it's a really good incentive to get people excited, particularly if it's a short time. It might really push them to actually go call someone and make the next step. If you look at the total effect on construction costs, if you were to cut the building inspection fees by 50%, you'll cut your construction cost by 3% or something, by a small percent, but it's not going to be a real driver. Oh, how would tax credits work? Affordable housing tax credits wouldn't apply. Historic preservation tax credits wouldn't apply. What other tax credits? I don't know about that. I can't think of any that would apply. I mean, I know there's this other question, tax credits. The tax question is an issue, making sure the assessors are estimating the value accurately and not, for instance, if you convert your half your house to an ADU or a quarter of your house, wall off some of the rooms, you're not likely increasing the value of your house that much, because some people would want a larger house and some would want the rental income. So I think there's an important project that we've just started in San Mateo County, talking with the assessors and making sure they're doing that accurately. We should say that that your base assessment won't increase. It's just the cost of the improvements that'll change. And so there's also an educational component to make sure people understand that it's not, you know, if they're grandfathered in with a real low tax assessment, that will stay the same. And I should also just say, San Mateo County is really open to other cities copying it. We will help reproduce the calculator for cities that are interested, or help cities copy the other products. We're not proprietary at all with the work.
Great. Okay. I think we're going to stop here because it's 12 o'clock, but I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. You will